After an outcry from politicians and the community, the health unit has now broken down where positive cases of COVID-19 are in the area. But they say it doesn't mean that's where they contracted the virus. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. 24 of the province's 134 new cases today right here in Windsor, Essex, and 7 of those reported cases are in the agri-farm sector. Now, farm-related cases make up 1,100 of the cases of COVID-19 in Windsor, Essex during this pandemic. Now, today, the federal government announced nearly $59 million to deal with the spread of COVID-19 among migrant workers. This morning, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that the government will also review the temporary foreign worker program.
In some cases, we have let those communities down, whether it's the farms that haven't been living up to the standards and expectations that we expect, or provincial governments or federal governments that haven't been properly involved in ensuring that standards are met and that people are protected. There are lots of changes we need to make, and we need to continue to work on supporting these people and these families as they support us.
And joining us now to break down the announcement is the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion, Minister Carla Qualtrough. Thanks for joining us today. Millions of dollars announced that will go toward preventing the spread of COVID-19 at farms. That's where nearly half of our cases are from in Windsor, Essex here. The Prime Minister said earlier today, quote, "In some cases, we've let these communities down." What could the federal government have done better?
Well, you know, looking back, we've tried so very hard to help so many people, and our efforts around temporary foreign workers from the beginning really focused on getting people to Canada safely, making sure that there was a quarantine, 2 weeks of quarantine for workers to ensure they were healthy. And then our efforts really focused on that. And now what we've come to appreciate and realize is we've had to do so much more. So what we announced today was $58 million, which is in addition to $50 million that was announced a couple of months ago, and another $100 million specific to helping farmers, to really increase inspections on farms, to have assessment teams go in when there is an outbreak, to help migrant worker organizations, to create a liaison officer position, to work with consulates from countries who supply temporary foreign workers to Canada, and to start work on something that should have been started so much so much before this. I apologize. On housing. You know, housing is really where it seems not enough attention has been paid on with respect to temporary foreign workers' health and safety, and we're really doubling down. We've considered it a provincial jurisdiction. That's not an excuse. It's unacceptable, and now we're going to create national housing guidelines very quickly and work towards housing criteria for even entry into the temporary foreign worker program.
And when you talk about housing there, the medical officer of health here for Windsor, Essex has said that the minimum standards for living conditions for temporary foreign workers at farms, it doesn't allow for physical distancing. And advocates for migrant workers, they say that more inspections won't help if they're just enforcing the current standards. So what would you like to see change there?
Well, first of all, I think the federal government has to get more in the game. We need to step up. We need to make housing and appropriate, dignified housing a condition of even being a part of this program from the beginning. Historically, what we've done is relied on the employer, the farm in this case, to give us a housing report that says their housing is adequate based on local housing requirements, but we've not really been in the game of checking this out. We don't have any way to enforce that. We're looking at how we can enforce housing standards a little bit better, more robustly. And you know, I've heard firsthand from migrant worker groups that this would be game changing. You know, put some dignity into the housing aspect of what employers, in this case farmers, are supposed to be doing from the beginning.
Canada's health minister about a month ago said that it was a national disgrace how workers were treated. That was after hearing stories specifically out of Windsor, Essex. Since then, we've seen the number of farm workers, the cases that have happened there, increase in the hundreds. Why is it taking so long to create action on this file?
Well, I wouldn't say there's inaction. I would say it's a complicated situation. We are really struggling with the different levels of government working together. People are very well intended. Farmers are trying. Some farmers are trying harder than others. You know, there was mixed messaging from different levels of government as to how safe it was to work when you're asymptomatic, but you have COVID. It's not been our finest hour in Canada. It's really revealed some significant gaps in this system and some things we really need to change. I'm very committed to changing that. I think we could have a legacy coming out of this pandemic of a really modernized, fair, equitable temporary foreign workers program that meets the objectives we really have in our country, but also treats people with the dignity they deserve.
All right, well, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Thanks for this, Minister.
My pleasure. Take care.
Now, we also asked the minister about mandatory testing for farm workers, something that the Premier of Ontario has called for. She calls it a complex issue and that it's worrisome to her. Advocates also say that today's announcement misses a key point. They've been asking for full and permanent immigration status for migrant workers. She says it's something that they're looking at federally. You can catch our full interview online, cbc.ca/Windsor. We'll be posting it there. Locally, the chair of the Migrant Worker Community Program calls today's announcement great news. It also includes millions of dollars for local groups like theirs to help workers at the ground level.
More impressed with the $6 million they want to distribute between different organizations that help migrant workers. For me, that's a fantastic news. Hopefully, organization like Migrant Worker Community Program can be benefits from these funds to keep helping the migrant workers, temporary foreign worker community. We usually, during the year, we spend around $100,000 is how we manage to live through the year. Mm-hmm. So having more extra funds will help to reach more migrant workers.
Now, this week, politicians and people in the community in general have been calling on the health unit to release more detailed data on where the COVID-19 cases are in Windsor, Essex. They did just that today. Dale Molnar's been sifting through the data to find out what it all means. He joins us now live. Dale, what do these maps tell us?
Well, Chris, the maps are color-coded and reflect the numbers per thousand per population. Now, these numbers also include, though, people who have had COVID and either recovered or died. So if you look here at the map of Windsor, you can see there are different colors. The yellow, lighter yellow areas have fewer people per thousand with COVID, and the darker areas show where there is a higher concentration. Now, in the areas with no color, that means no one in those areas have ever had COVID-19. They're the people who live there, that is. Now, likewise, in the county, there are vast areas where there aren't anyone living with who have had the disease, but you can see the higher concentrations in Leamington and Kingsville, which is consistent with what we've heard about the cases of farm workers. Now, the medical officer of health says we shouldn't think that just because you live in a gray area that there's no COVID around.
Sharing that detail is not a reflective of which neighborhood's safe or which neighborhood is worse. It's just an indicator of where these individuals are living. So someone could very well be living in Tecumseh, let's say, or Lakeshore or anywhere else, but could be working in Windsor.
Now, Lakeshore Council was one of a few in the county that called for this information. It's Mayor Tom Bain's hopes that this will help us all get out of stage 2.
We're trying to put every effort we can into get moved to level 3. We're the only area that's not a 3. And any information that we can gain in this way that'll help us get up to level 3 is a huge plus.
Now, Dale, we've seen the maps, we've heard what the politicians think, and we see what Dr. Ahmed has to say about it, but how helpful could this be in other ways?
Well, I spoke to a couple of researchers who say that the more we know about the populations that have COVID, the better we can be at fighting the disease.
And in those neighborhoods, we can design interventions. We can go there. We can hire people who speak the right languages. There's all sorts of things that we can do once we start to identify that there's a particular neighborhood, which may mean a particular population that we're not reaching effectively. So it can. It really depends on the city, but it can reveal those kinds of inequalities and therefore opportunities to do targeted interventions.
I think going forward, mapping like this will be important in that we can see how it changes over time. If they're going to continually update these maps, which I hope they do, because it'll allow us to sort of see how, those community cases and the agri-sector cases are spreading over time and within Windsor-Essex.
Now, Fraser Fathers there says it would be better to somehow indicate where the resolved cases are, so we also know where the current cases are. And Furness says there is a balance to be struck when it comes to singling out groups so they aren't discriminated against, but he says it is important to know if a group is more vulnerable so they can be helped. Chris?
Thanks to Dale. The CBC's Dale Molnar live tonight. Now, the health unit has also reported that an employee working at Chuck's Roadhouse and Grill on Windsor's East End worked while they were infectious with COVID-19. The employee worked there last Friday and Saturday, but was using PPE and physically distancing. So the exposure to the public is low, according to the health unit. Now, they say it will be contacting those who went to the business in the coming days and will also inspect the restaurant to ensure that safe practices are being kept. A manager at the restaurant says that it's undergoing a deep clean, getting all of their staff tested, and hopes to reopen on Tuesday. The city of Windsor says that it will be doing testing of our local wastewater for COVID-19. They say it could help determine if cases are increasing in the community. Now, the Luramano and Little River pollution control plants are going to provide the samples. They're going to be analyzed by the Great Lakes Institute for Environmental Research along with SM Research. Now, the city says evidence has shown that COVID-19 can be detected in Windsor's untreated wastewater, and add that COVID-19 is effectively inactivated as it goes through the wastewater treatment disinfection process. The federal government has rolled out a new smartphone app called COVID Alert for Ontario residents. It's meant to inform people if they may have been near someone who has tested positive over the past 2 weeks.
The more people use it, the better it can trace and therefore slow the spread of the virus. In fact, health experts say that if enough people sign up, this app can help prevent future outbreaks of COVID-19 in Canada.
While encouraging everyone to download the app, he said that it is not mandatory and that it does not collect personal data or track the user's location. Right now, the COVID Alert app works best for Ontario residents because it's linked to our province's healthcare system. The federal government says it also is working with the Atlantic provinces and other regions to expand the reach of the app. Officials say that this app is used to notify users of potential exposure, not meant for contact tracing. COVID-19 has put a new spotlight on long-term care homes, but deadly problems in these types of facilities goes way back. Elizabeth Wetlaufer's serial killings of residents prompted an inquiry report. And as David Common tells us, some say a failure to act on those recommendations has made this COVID crisis worse.
The outbreak highlighted the cracks within the system that has been broken for years.
Such is the state of long-term care that a day after announcing an inquiry into the tragedy of COVID in nursing homes, the province is announcing its response to the last tragedy.
I don't think there'll ever be any true justice.
John Matheson's mother, Helen, was killed by nurse Elizabeth Wetlaufer, who, in spite of many warning signs, moved from home to home, intentionally overdosing patients. A public inquiry into the killings laid bare a series of failures, including a care home system stretched to the limits.
The government has to recognize that they can't take away money from these homes and then expect things to be better.
The Ford government says it's implemented a third of the inquiry's recommendations, but critics say it has not committed to a minimum level of staffing inside care homes. Government's own expert panel says staffing in those homes is in crisis.
It's unfortunate that there's a lot of pieces that seem to be missing even right now.
Elder advocate Jane Mita says the government should have acted sooner. Inaction over the past year, she believes, allowed COVID to exacerbate the failures revealed by a system that didn't detect murder.
It was not a surprise. Any of the things that came up during the pandemic at the beginning that caused those deaths.
Would you want to be in long-term care?
No, just take me out back and shoot me first.
In spite of it all, John and Pat feel they must remain hopeful, more aware than most of the consequences of failure. David Common, CBC News, Peterborough, Ontario.
Eid is usually celebrated by Muslims around the world with prayers and feasts at mosques, but COVID-19 has made things look a little different. You're looking at a prayer service this morning outside Al Hijra Mosque. People sitting outside following physical distancing guidelines. Over at the Windsor Mosque, worshippers gathered inside and kept 6 feet apart while wearing masks. They also welcomed people during 3 different time slots to reduce the amount of people inside at one time.
People are happy with this. And actually, many of them, they expressed the feeling, they said that was smooth compared with the other large gathering, because that comes with some other difficulties, for parking, for accommodation as well. So having multiple sessions, some of them suggested to me maybe that's what should be the routine even after the pandemic.
A sweeping ban on foreign travelers entering Canada has now been extended until at least the end of August. The order has been in place since mid-March, one of many strict measures introduced to slow the spread of the coronavirus. As you know, it bars nearly all those who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents who are coming from a foreign country other than the United States. That includes the bridge and the tunnel. Now, a separate order in place exists between Canada and the States, which prohibits all non-essential travel. Truckers and health workers are among those still being allowed to enter from the United States. Canada so far has had just over 116,000 infections, while the U.S., they've reported nearly 4.5 million cases of COVID-19. Emancipation Day is tomorrow, August 1st. And while celebrations for it may look different this year because of COVID-19, some Windsorites, they say the day is more significant in light of recent events, most notably the death of George Floyd, which sparked worldwide protests. CBC News asked 4 members of the Black community here in Windsor what this day means to them.
Emancipation Day not only is an acknowledgement and a reminder of what we've accomplished so far, but also a reminder of what's left to be done. As a 3rd-generation Black Canadian, I grew up still experiencing anti-Black racism and racism in and of itself.
Well, that was a highlight as a kid. That was a highlight event for the year. Like, it was always, summer vacation, but can't wait till Emancipation Day.
I was born in Jamaica, and so Emancipation Day is something we have been celebrating since I was a little girl through cultural dances and poetry. As a child, the dark significance of that day did not register to me. Emancipation Day is just a constant reminder of the horrendous history that Black people faced in Canada and around the world.
It's huge, but at the same time it's hurtful because, seeing that we have to be set free for something that shouldn't even be in the first place.
You talk to others or even my own friends, some people still don't know when Canadian Emancipation Day is, or when we talk about a holiday happening this weekend, people usually don't really know which holiday that is. And due to the current political environment and considering that we are in the largest civil rights movement in history, it allows people to take a step back and ask themselves, okay, what's going on where I live and how can I further educate myself on my own history, my own country's history, and what's left to be done.
There is racial tension and that sort of thing going on, but we still have to live together. We have to work together. We have to try and get along.
I definitely see racism becoming a thing of the past in my lifetime. Yeah, that's what I hope.
I envision a society where access to justice for Blacks doesn't start with large-scale protests, but instead timely justice for Black victims is no issue at all.
Don't be ashamed to ask questions. There's always resources that you can turn to, people that you can turn to who will be grateful to educate you on what you're asking, and it'll lead to, a better mindset, and later on you can tell someone else the same things that you learned.
A lot to reflect on there. That story also on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can read more of what they had to say about what's happening this weekend. We now take a live look outside. Got a boat on the Detroit River, certainly looking like a sunshiny day, but does it stay away for the rest of our long weekend? Probably not, but Nick Sirkovich will tell us what he thinks happens after the break. joining us now for a live look at the weather is Nick Sirkovich. Nick, all it takes is a quick look outside and we are reminded that this is like a perfect summer Friday. Just the breeze has been there. You step outside, you're not scorching hot. It is just fantastic out there. It's going to stay for the whole weekend, right?
I was going to say perfect summer Friday. Emphasis on the word Friday. Didn't say the weekend. But you know what? There's a little bit of there is a glimmer of hope for you. I know yesterday we were talking about you going camping. There's a glimmer of hope. I'm going to get to that here. I'm going to leave that as a tease. Nonetheless, still some rain though that we've got to deal with. Headlines, sunny start to the weekend. Temperatures are falling, though. We're a little bit below seasonal as we head through the next few days, and of course the weekend rainfall as well. But it looks like the rain is shifting a little bit further north, and that's the glimmer of hope. 27 degrees right now at the Humidex feels like around 30 down in the Windsor area. Perfect day. We've got sunshine across the board. We are tracking a system, though, that's moving in. So generally clear skies tonight. As we move through tomorrow morning, that's the sunshine. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long. System pushes up, and it looks like by tomorrow afternoon, Windsor, Chatham, Kent area, late afternoon, evening, probably seeing a few showers or thunderstorms. Then this system moves through. The glimmer of hope that I was mentioning is that the models seem to be pushing it a little bit further to the north. So we might actually not see as much rainfall falling across southwestern Ontario as we were looking at yesterday. Then Monday, spotty showers. So not really rain, but spotty showers. Forecast models, you remember yesterday were showing 30, 40 millimeters of rain, somewhat less for Sunday. So that's the good news in all of this. Now, again, this could change, but it looks like the system is shifting a little bit further to the north. Clear sky, or mostly clear skies tonight. 19 degrees, going through tomorrow, 28 degrees, sort of late day showers and thunderstorms, wet weather on Sunday, showers on Monday, not a washout, showers on Monday, and a little unsettled on Tuesday as well. There you go. Is that
the
enough
breakdown
of a glimmer
there?
of hope?
No, absolutely. You look at the graphic there, you see the raindrops,
well,
and you're like, the whole day?
It's
but
not,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the sneak attack there. I appreciate that. Thanks for this, Nick, and make sure you enjoy the good weekend, eh?
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Now, coming up next, we have a dose of vitamin B out of PEI. It is not what you think it is. That's next. Now, all through the pandemic, James McCaddy of PEI has been giving people a daily dose of what he calls vitamin B. B as in bagpipes. He's an instructor at the College of Piping and Celtic Performing Arts on the island. He started posting these videos online to lift spirits when the lockdown started back in March. And since then, they've been viewed around the world.
Not even people who played bagpipes, it's people who just wanted something happy.
Now, the whole effort was a family affair. His 4-year-old daughter, Briar, who he calls his sidekick, became a key part of the videos, which is absolutely fantastic, as you can see here. You can figure all this out, why they've been able to reach these daily posts, 105 episodes. And they do this, posting it every once in a while, but he does have to go back teaching at the college in the fall. Now, since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of community outreach, people trying their best to help in a difficult situation. So we found out from you who some of your local heroes are.
For me, it'd probably be like my mom, because she's a nurse and she's just always going to the hospital and stuff. And I don't know, she's just always like reassuring us, you know, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves during this pandemic and stuff.
My fiance.
Yeah, why's that?
She's cleaning houses for a living right now, so she's going in the houses and helping to sanitize.
Got some real winners in our community here to be thankful for. It is 6:29 p.m. and that's it for CBC Windsor News. Now we have more on these stories at cbc.ca/Windsor. That is it for us. If you go to social media and search CBC Windsor, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Power and Politics is up next, already in progress. The long weekend ahead of us. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you and your family stay safe, but have a little bit of fun.